Today we're going to learn about how to connect a function to a button. The first thing we're going to do, you open up a new Actionscript 3.0 file. We're going to make a quick little symbol here, a movie clip. I'll just call it letters. Now these are going to be dummy graphics. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so when I click OK, we're now on a new timeline. We're not on the scene 1 anymore. We're on letters timeline. And I'm just going to get the paintbrush and get a color that's going to contrast with my background. So maybe I'll get something dark. I'll just paint an A. Alright, here's an A. And I'm going to go up here to the second frame of this layer and control click on it because I have a Mac. And go to Insert Blank Keyframe, and I'll type a B. So let's go to Scene 1 now, and over here on the side we have a library, and I'm going to just drag my letters and put it on the stage. So I'll get the arrow tool and just kind of position this A kind of more or less in the middle. Now what we got to do next is to make a button. I'll just start with a button to see the letter D. Okay, so I'm going to go to Insert, New Symbol, and this time I'm going to pick Button, name it Let D. Alright, so now I'm going to get the text tool. And we'll notice that they're only, it's a different kind of timeline, and the only ones we have to worry about are up and over. So I'm on the up frame now. I have the text tool. I'm going to click it near this little crosshair and type C letter D. In my up frame, I have some content. Now I want to duplicate that in the over frame. So I'm going to Control click on this and go to Insert Keyframe, not Blank Keyframe, but Keyframe. And it's going to duplicate what was on the up frame. Just copy that over to the over frame. And now all I have to do is change the color. So I'm going to highlight this and go down to, or go over to one of the color areas. This is one place to do it, and just pick red. So now I have an up that's blue and an over that's red. Looks good. Alright, now back to scene 1, and I'll drag my letter D button over from the library, and there we go. Alright, so we got everything we need. Now we have to do the coding. And the first thing when you're going to make interactive presentations with Actionscript 3.0, any symbols that you have that you're going to allude to in the code, you have to name them. So I'm going to select the arrow tool, and I have this letter D button, and I'll drag this properties up so you can see it. It says that this is a button and it wants an instance name, so I'm going to give it an instance name of let D underscore BTN. Generally you want to have your buttons have an underscore BTN, and your movie clips will do next. Selected the movie clip here with a suffix of underscore MC. So we'll call this letters underscore MC. So now we got our things named, and now we have to make a new layer and call this new layer Actions. And we're going to open this up by control clicking on that blank keyframe in the Actions layer and go to Actions. And the first thing we have to do is write a function so that we go to the letter D. So what I'm going to do is write function go D, parentheses, parentheses, open curly bracket. What we're going to do is use what is known as a movie clip method. The word method simply is another word for function, but it's a function that applies to various objects such as movie clips. So our movie clip instance is named letters underscore MC. To call a movie clip method, we put a dot after the instance name. And as soon as we do that, this wonderful little thing opens up, and it allows us to be lazy and not have to type, but we're going to look for a method of going to a particular frame. Go to and stop, that's what we want. Go to and stop. And what frame is the D on? Well, A, B, C, D. It's frame 4. All right, and then we're going to close that. When I test this movie, if I go to Control Test Movie, look what's going on with the movie clip. The movie clip is 5 frames, and it'll just automatically play unless we tell it not to. So I forgot one little thing. So let's close this. I'm going to go back to the library over here. Oops, sorry for the Venetian blind effect here. I'm going to double click on the icon for letters. It brings me back to my timeline for the movie clip. And I'm going to add a new layer above the content here and call this one Action. We're in the letters timeline. I'm going to right click on this first blank keyframe, go to Actions, and simply put a stop action on. What I'm actually doing here is calling the stop function. Stop is a built-in Flash function. Notice I didn't type the semicolon after this, which you're supposed to have, but if I click this auto format, boing, it puts it in for me. All right, so now if I go back to scene 1 and test my movie again, notice how the letters aren't going like a mad mouse anymore. Okay, so let's close that. We're back on scene 1. Let's go to the Actions layer and open up our Actions thing. Now, we've written a function for the movie clip to go to and stop on frame 4. Now, if we wanted to have that automatically start happening, we had to call the function. So I'm just going to call it go D parentheses parentheses. Now, when I test my movie by doing command return, da-da, it automatically goes to D. But this isn't really what we want to happen. We want this to happen when the user decides to go CD. So I'm going to comment this one out, and I'm going to write another function which is going to look almost exactly the same. In fact, it's so similar, I'm going to copy this one and just paste it in, copy it. And I'm going to change the name of GoD to CD, just a slightly different name. And it's going to do exactly the same thing. The only difference is I'm going to have to put something inside the parentheses, and that is the word event. This is going to allow me to tie this function to a button. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the button name, and I forget what I named it, so I'm going to click on it. Let D_BTN. I'm just going to copy that so I don't have to even worry about typing it correctly. So I'm going to paste that in. Here's the name of the button. I'm going to type a period. Ta-da! This opens up all the button methods, again, functions and properties that we can associate with buttons. And I'm looking for one called addEventListener. I'm going to double click on that. What the addEventListener is going to do, it needs 2 bits of information, 2 parameters, if you remember from our first video. The first parameter is the event that it's listening for, and that is mouse event dot da-da-da-da. It opens up again. We're looking for a thing called click. There we go. Double click on click. So it's listening for a user's click on itself. Then we have a comma, and we have what it's supposed to do. And we're going to call the CD function. You don't need the parentheses inside of here. You just have the name of the function. And we're closing the parentheses for the addEventListener method. Okay, now let's test this out. Command Enter or return. Now, when the user goes over the button, notice it has a nice rollover effect. If I click that, I get my D. All right, so that shows us how we can use an event listener to tie a button to a function.